2009, you're running for the election. What made you run for that election?
About 10 years ago, I guess, my wife and I, not at the time she was my girlfriend, but at that time we had talked about me being on the school board and what that would entail, and if I would like to do that. And I thought I would, but I didn't know how to go about it, so I just kind of left it on the back burner. Well, in 2009, Chuck Brotherton called me and told me that there was a school board election coming up and asked me if I would be willing to run for the school board. And I said I would, so we got the papers together and got the signatures we needed and did it. So most of the thought probably came before the year 2009 about running.
What was it at the time that made you think about wanting to be on the school board?
Well, at that time I was at a whole different job. I worked for a chemical company south of town, and what I did for them was kind of track expenses, tracked a couple other things for a pretty large company, and it was something that was pretty intriguing to me, and used to talk with some of the people out there about school finances. Not anything too in depth, but just what we spent money on, what we thought we spent money on foolishly, which when you're outside looking in, you're always smarter than what everybody else is. So we talked about it a little bit, and I thought that might be something I'd like to do, just to be able to look at the expenses and how we could cut expenses and do a better job with the budget. And then when you get appointed, or when you get elected to the school board and you get on there and you see actually how much goes into it, you understand that it's a lot more than just saying, hey, we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't spend this money on this. And
what would be an example of that surprised you when you got on?
The thing that really pops into my head was busing. When I was in school, we bused kids from around Wall Lake to the Wall Lake School. And then we went together with Lakeview while I was in school, so we had to bus kids from outside of Wall Lake all the way to Lakeview. So on a winter day, you run the buses in the morning. You get a blizzard in the afternoon, and you have to call school off. So you wasted money busing those kids from here to there. At least that's the way it looks, when you're not involved with it. So that's the thing that sticks out in my head, those kind of expenses.
And you're saying before you got on, you looked at that as a waste, and then you got on and you changed your attitude about that?
Well, yeah, I think you learn a lot when you get involved in something. You learn a lot more than what you actually think you know. So let's say you make a decision to have school, and there is a blizzard, and you do have to send the kids home. You look at that more like you're doing what's right for the kids than wasting that money. And at that point in time when I was doing that, I didn't have any kids of my own. So that wouldn't have been quite as big a deal as it is now. Obviously when you get kids of your own, then your whole perspective changes. And I guess,
how many kids have you got right now?
I have 4.
Are they all 4 in the district?
No. Emma's 13, she's in 8th grade. Isabel is 8, she's in 3rd grade. Sterling is 7, and he's in 2nd grade. And Lily is 2, so she's not in school yet.
What kind of things do you, from a parent's perspective, do you see happening at the Wall Lake Elementary School that you like?
Well, one of the things that I really like about our elementary school here in Wall Lake is the teachers. I'd say most of the teachers that we have here have been here for, and I'm going to say more than 15 years. I can think of a couple of them that have just been hired within the last couple of years, but the majority of them have been here for quite a while. They know the families, they know the kids, and they're really good teachers. They care about the kids, and I think that's the most important thing in a school, is the teachers caring about the kids, because if you go to work every day and you don't care about what you do, you're not going to do a very good job. And obviously the most important thing in the school is the kids. Second most important would be the teachers teaching the kids what they need to learn.
Do you have any problems with how things are being done in Wall Lake? Do you have any things you'd like to see improved upon?
That's a really good question, Curtis. Every night, not every night because we aren't home every night, but every night that we're home, we sit down as a family and we have supper at our supper table. And we always go around the table and ask our kids to say 5 things that they did that day at school. Well, our 8th grader doesn't have any trouble. She rattles off 5 things pretty fast. And can I keep going? But when you get down into the elementary kids, they sit there and think, well, let's see. We had recess, and we had hamburgers for lunch, but otherwise they don't remember what they did. You got to really pry it out of them. But no, the kids really don't have any trouble at all up here. Our kids don't. As far as the school goes, I think it's pretty well maintained. The teachers all get along pretty well, from what I understand. I'm sure there's some squabbles here and there, but I don't hear about all that stuff. As far as I know, it's pretty well oiled machine up here.
How about your middle schooler? Emma comes home from school. Obviously, there's been some recent history with bullying problems at the middle school.
Yeah.
Does she talk about that?
She talks about that a little bit. She doesn't get bullied, so she doesn't really talk about in first person. She sees this and she sees that. She kind of tells us, where it happens, where she's seen it happen, that kind of thing. And I've brought that up in the school board meeting before, and talked to Dr. Feeney and Denny Olhausen behind the scenes a little bit about certain things. But the thing that she talks more about is how the kids have their drama. I guess we'll call it. That's what we call it at our house, drama. Every day, this kid said this about me. This kid said that about this kid. So she doesn't talk too much about bullying. Yeah, there is some that goes on, but I don't think she sees a lot of it.
What are the things that impress you about the middle school?
Again, I would have to say the teachers at the middle school are a pretty well-rounded group. I don't know those teachers quite as well as I do ours up here, because I don't live there. I don't go there quite as frequently as I go here. But my daughter talks about the teachers a lot. She really likes a lot of her teachers. But another thing that I like about the middle school is there has been some issues with bullying, but I think in the last year and a half, there's been quite a change, I believe, in the bullying. There's not as much of it going on, first of all, and I don't think it's to the extent, to the degree, I guess, the harshness, however you want to say that, as it maybe was in the past. And I attribute that probably to Dr. Feeney and Denny Olhausen. So I think there's some good things coming out of that school, and you can look at the past all you want and say, yeah, it was bad, but that doesn't matter anymore. The future's what matters, and I think we're getting better. So that's one of the things that I'd be really impressed with.
What were the things that put the fire in your belly to run? What were the issues you wanted to address after you got on the school board? Now I understand the difference between being on the school board and not being on the school board. What were the things that you wanted to address before you knew what it entailed?
Well, that's a really good question, because I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said that everybody that runs for the school board has an agenda. And I can honestly tell you that when I first put my name in the hat, I didn't even know what I was getting into. I went to a school board meeting beforehand just to see what they talked about, and for the first couple of meetings, I just listened. You were there. You probably don't remember, but I didn't say a lot. It takes me a little while to get into the groove and understand what's going on, and I'm not the type of guy that's just going to speak up and say something if I don't know what's going on. So at first I didn't have an agenda, and
You say it first. Have you since developed a set of things you'd like to accomplish?
Well, agenda I think is a bad word. I don't have an agenda. I guess the reason that I'm on the school board is because I'm going to have kids in school for the next 15 years. And I just want to have a say in what goes on. I want to have the best school for my kids first of all, and then all the other kids involved too. So I guess my agenda would be the mission statement, is to make the best school that we can for all of our kids. And
what do you think the best way to go about that is?
Well, I think we're on that track. I mean, I think we need a forward thinking. We need to look into the future and say, what do we need in the future for these kids? What kind of technology do we need? Are we going to be teaching them the same way as we have for the last 100 years? Or do we need to change our curriculum? And obviously, I think we need to keep professional development. We need to keep that up, because we need our teachers to know how to teach, and professional development does a good job of that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the next 4 years. If you were to be reelected, obviously there's an ISL tax coming up. Vote on the same day.
Yeah.
And if that's voted down, what do you think the school should do? Now, I mean, the board has the option to do nothing, or to put in place a 5% for, have I got this right, 5% for 5 years?
Yeah, right.
Or to send it back to the voters again?
Well, in November of last year, 2010, the board was asked to put the instructional support levy through, to vote it through, and we said no, that we weren't going to do that. We thought that was something that the voters should have the chance to vote on. And I still believe that. If they vote it down this time, which I don't think they will, I think they understand that this is something that we need in the future. I think that if they do vote it down, what we would do is we would maybe change it a little bit and say, let's take out the surtax and let's just do a straight property tax and see if we can get that passed. We wouldn't push it through.
Are you saying now, careful, because I know the future can change, but are you saying you wouldn't vote to push it through?
Well, I would say that.
Or are you saying from your inside knowledge of people, your conversations with other people on the board, that you guys would not do that?
I can't speak for the board. I'm only one person, but from what I understand, from the conversations that I've been in, we wouldn't push it through the next time. Now, if it came down to it and we had to do it, we probably would push it through. This would be, if it didn't pass 3, 4, 5 times, we would try. I guess that would be my feeling. I don't know what anybody else would do. That would be my feeling, and that would be something that I would suggest to the other 4 school board members. But I honestly think that we'll pass it.
What do you anticipate happening in the next 4 years if you get elected at the school?
I would like to see, obviously everybody talks about technology, and I think we need technology. I think that's a big deal anymore. Every job that you have deals with technology, so I think we're going to need to keep up on that. But I would like to see maybe some changes in how we teach kids. And we've actually started doing that through our math program in the elementary. It's called CGI. And what we do with that is the kids get an assignment from the teacher, and the teacher kind of tells them, now you figure this out. They have to first of all figure out, how do you do this? Because it's not 32 minus 8 written down. Mm-hmm. That's easy for kids to do. They have to figure the problem out first of all.
Well, wait, let me just stop there. It sounds like a story problem from when we were kids.
Right.
Okay, so CGI is the fancy name for doing story problems?
Well, yeah, kind of.
But it involves, but
maybe not necessarily always a story problem.
Okay.
But what they do is they figure it out on their own. And then we sit down in a group and we tell each other how we figured it out. I drew 32 circles and I put 8 of them over here, and I figured out that I had 24 of them left.
Oh, so in describing it to each other, they would all learn different ways of doing it and have a firmer grasp on the concept?
Plus, the thing that I like the best about it is it's kids teaching kids. If you think back, and you think back to when you were a kid and your parents were trying to discipline you or trying to learn you something, sometimes it was hard for them to do because they're a parent and you're a kid. But if another kid told you the same thing, then you're like, oh, well, now I understand that. I think kids learn a lot better from themselves, from other kids, than they do from parents or teachers in certain cases.
So that's a direction, that would be an example of a direction that the teaching is going that you like.
Right. And I would like to see maybe even a little more expansion of that. Maybe not in the elementary, let them grow up a little bit and then do it a little more in the middle school.
Well, at the risk of bringing partisan politics into this, I'm going to say something that I want you to appreciate. The child left behind.
Well, I haven't done a lot of research on it, but I haven't heard a lot of good about it either. I bring it up because right now, as probably everybody knows who's reading about it and paying attention, the school right now, the middle school, is a school in need of assistance, and it's sort of as a result of these benchmarks that need to be met from the system. And to bring up the school in need of assistance, the list that the middle school's on, that's for a couple of groups of kids that we have in school, and I think they're doing a good job of understanding what is needed for those groups of kids, and they're doing a better job of supplying the state what they need.
Well, it seems like supplying the state what they need is just cranking out test scores that are just high enough. Are they just teaching them the test there?
See, that's another problem that I have with the way that we teach kids. We give them all these facts, fact, and if you can go back through those facts, then you can do good on the test. But if I tell you to figure out the facts, then you may not do so good on that. So we have a lot of doers, and maybe not so many thinkers that come out of the school. Not necessarily East County, the school system in general. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'd like to see. And if you would ask me how we would do that, I guess I couldn't tell you.
Wait a second. How would we do that?
Good question. I don't know exactly how we would do that. I've always been
how radical does it get for you? Are you in favor of sending some people towards trades? Sending some people towards college?
I guess my feeling would be if we can get to a point where we can offer these kids what they need. Because there's kids that go to school and they're in band because they're required to be in band, but they're never going to do anything with band in the rest of their life. So is it doing them any good? And then there's kids that are in power mechanics or woods or small engines that are never going to have anything to do with that in their life. So is that really doing them any good? If there's a kid that he's going to be a mechanic and he knows that, then let's let him be a mechanic. Let's not make him get into choir and band, and I'm not bashing choir and band because I think we need those programs also, because there's kids that aren't going to be able to be a diesel mechanic. They're going to be a drummer, and that's what they're going to be. So I think we need to offer as many programs as we can offer.
How do you think East County is living up to that right now? Or let's ask the real question. What do you think East County is missing right now in terms of what it offers kids for,
as far as programs?
The real life of their future.
I think honestly we've got a pretty well-rounded school as far as program goes. I mean, we've got for 4 out of the last 5 years, we've got the best FFA in the state, and I hear of kids that want to come to our school because of our FFA, which makes me pretty proud. And I think if you would really sit down and look at it, we've probably got the most college level programs of any school around here. Now, I don't have any facts to prove that, but I would bet that pop that you're drinking right there on it. So, you know, as far as programs that we would add, I think we're doing a pretty good job. I think, you know, maybe some of the diesel mechanic type stuff. I don't know that we offer a lot of that. We do offer some engines classes and small engines.
Let's say you lose the election. September 14th rolls around, you wake up and you're no longer on the school board. What are your regrets at that point, or do you have any?
No, you know, I don't know. I think there's always more that you could do. I don't think you're ever done doing anything. You know, even 5 years down the road, 4 years down the road, if I did get elected, 4 years down the road, I'm not elected again, I would bet that there would be more that I would want to do. But as far as regrets, I don't think I've got any regrets. The one thing that I would love to see, and I've tried to do this in meetings, and the thing that I would love to see is a unity between all of the school board members, all of the school faculty, all of the towns, and you know what? That's a big challenge. But you know, I think we're getting there. We just had our 66th annual Farm Festival, and I believe it was the best one we've had in the last 10 years. And I think the reason that was is because we've just now become one school. And we had, I can't even tell you how many Sac City citizens we had at our Farm Festival this year. There was hundreds, I would guess. And part of that was because of the school. We had a food stand down here that people came down to work at. They were asked to work. They came down and happily worked for us, and they stayed around and, you know, did what you do at a farm festival. They rode rides and they walked around and played games. And I mean, I think we're getting there as far as one big town. 19 years ago, I graduated. You could say, hated Lakeview. We're 5 miles apart. We were rivals. We were in the same conference, and we went together with them when I was a sophomore in football. And we came together and you know, we made some pretty good teams in football and volleyball and basketball and even track, and baseball, all the sports. We did really well. And then 2 years later, I graduated from Lakeview, from WLVA. So, you know.
So you were a transition school kid yourself, sort of.
See, I've gone through this all before, and I've heard all the stuff from the adults saying, oh, you know, those guys are wanting this, and we don't want them to do that. But the kids all get along. You know, that's why I've always said it's about the kids. Mm-hmm. You know, just let the kids do what they're going to do. They're going to get along just fine. There's
a vote that you guys took in April that seemed to indicate to some people in Sac City that you are, let's use the term partisan, for Wall Lake View Auburn School as opposed to Sac Community School. And, you know, we both know what we're talking about here. Yeah. What would you say to those people?
You know, I guess part of the thing that I think about is it's really separated, because for 20 years that was an issue in Sac. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it became an issue in Sac WLVA. So that separates, you know, a lot. And in the particular issue that you're talking about, I guess, the thing that I would say is, well, first of all, I would tell them that the decision had nothing to do with any one person. For me, I wouldn't have cared if it was my dad that it involved. The decision for me was Do we want somebody to do a certain job all the time, or do we want them to do a certain job part of the time and another job the other part of the time? Personally, I wouldn't have cared had anybody quit being a principal and was a coach. You know, that was an option. Not an option that was likely, but it was an option. And so, you know, that, to my understanding, that would have alleviated all of the issue that the people at the school board had, the school board meeting in April. You know, that was the only thing they were talking about. We're taking away a good coach. That would have made him be able to coach, let him be able to coach. And, you know, like I've said, and maybe I say it too much, I don't know, my decision was about the kids. And yeah, there was kids involved on the other side, but not as many. You know, there was 20 kids involved in the coaching, and there's 400 and some involved in the elementary. So,
for anyone that doesn't know or listening to this broadcast first before the other one, Gene Riley is running against you. He's going to be your opponent, at least in the open. If there's any write-ins that happen between now and then, you know, he got up at a school board meeting and said that, just to bring this back to taxes, that instead of raising taxes, how about we close a building? And I can't say for certain, but it seems like he was talking about maybe closing the Wall Lake building due to its age, just in comparing the Wall Lake and the Sac City building. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, I kind of brought up my point of view in that same school board meeting. First of all, I would say that, you know, I think everybody has thought about if the Wall Lake School is going to close. Even when we went to Lakeview, we thought about that. The Wall Lake School is going to close. So, I mean, it's been in the minds of everybody, and it will be in the minds of everybody in Wall Lake. You know, if you lose a school in the town, that's a huge blow. But I guess the thing that I would say to that is, you know, just the same thing that I brought up in that meeting that night. You're going to close a school, and you're going to save yourself some money for heating, electricity, water, you know, that kind of stuff, utilities. And then you're going to save some money with maybe a custodian that you're not going to have working anymore, and maybe a food service person that you're not going to have working anymore. But then after that, you're going to have to start cutting teachers' jobs to save real amounts of money. You know, I just kind of roughly figured up what I just talked about there. And if you cut the school, you save the utilities, you save a janitor and a food service, maybe a couple other people. You're at, you know, $70,000, $80,000 a year, maybe. We've got 24, 25 teachers up here. So, you know, if you want to start cutting some money, you'd have to cut teachers, and I don't think we can afford to do that. I think we need those teachers. If you take all of the kids from this school and you put them in SAC, you start making class sizes larger, and you start making the pupil to teacher ratio larger. So, you know, you get more kids in a class, they're not going to learn as well. Then you're going to have to bus them further. You know, so there's just like Dr. Feeney said, there's a good way and a bad way to do this. You know, you got to sit down and figure out all of your expenses and all of your savings and see if it, you know, does it weigh out. So my opinion right now would be, I don't think it's the right thing to do to close the school. think it needs a lot more research, and I think that's something that we can do.
Well, right now the school has 50 something students, K through 12.
Yeah, I'd say 950 to 60.
Okay.
Somewhere right in there.
Right now we're still floating pretty good on merger money.
Yeah, somewhere around $500,000.
Yeah. When that goes away, how much are you guys hoping to raise per year?
Well, we really haven't talked about how much we're hoping to raise. But it goes into effect in 2013, and we can levy anywhere from 1 to 10% as far as property taxes go, and then the surtax on, that's hard to explain. But I think we would, the first couple of years we would just look at starting out, and I can't speak for everybody else, so I don't know what they're thinking, but my feeling would be less than 5%, somewhere around 2%. Probably.
The question I'm trying to ask here is, at some point, unless the Highway 20 bypass magically makes us become a 20,000 person county, and people are just coming from left and right to live here. If we keep losing, and right now we're losing about 20 students a year. That's about what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's a couple of years going below 900. A couple 3 years we're going below 900. 10 years out we're getting down towards 800. Down towards 850. We're starting to get down to the within a couple hundred students of where both schools were when we needed to merge in the first place. We've kind of got nowhere to go. All the schools around us are merging away from us. I understand that you guys aren't planning 10 years out. Have you ever given any thought that far in the future?
I've thought about what you said about all the schools are going away from us, and I've kicked around, would it be a good idea to have a county school? Basically, we are the county school. We're it. Nemaha's with Shaler and Crestland, and they're with Galva Holstein. Odebold's gone. So, as far as what you do, part of the problem too is the legislature. What are they going to do? That's a big hill to climb.
That's a great big wild card right there.
That's a big hill to climb, and that may be 10 years down the line what you're talking about, but it's definitely something that within the next couple of years we're going to have to start thinking about. And I truthfully believe that Dr. Feeney has been thinking about that, and I think he's probably beginning to form a plan, even though he may not be here in 10 years. How do you know? So I really didn't answer your question, but yes, I have thought of that. I think everybody on the school board has probably thought of it. What we're going to do, I don't know. I mean, if you start losing that many kids, you get down into the 700s, what you were talking about before. I hate to say this, but you'd have to start looking at staffing. I mean, it's kind of the obvious way to go. And if you've got 4 teachers that teach 3rd grade, and you've only got 100 kids, you've only got 75 kids, do you really need that many teachers?
There's a point, though, at which the amount of money you're allowed to spend, your spending authority, gets so low that, how many buildings can you afford to keep open?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's what both schools were getting towards.
Right.
When they merged in the first place.
Yeah, and I think that would be something that we would have to do too. If you get down to that few of kids, then it's probably not going to be an option to have the school at Wall Lake open. And hopefully that's 10 years down the line before we have to close that. And hopefully we never have to close it. Like you said, hopefully 20,000 people move into our county, and then we've got more than we can handle. I don't know that that'll happen. That's a good guess and by golly question there, Curtis. 10 years down the line, what are we going to do? And I would never advocate to fire a teacher and I would never advocate to close a school. But if our kids need a place to go, and we don't have the money to send them to this place, if it's in Sac or Lakeview or Wall Lake, then we need to look at doing some drastic measures to get them there.
Well, it must not all be doom and gloom. What is it that most excites you about 4 more years on the school board?
Well, Curtis, I don't know if you've ever been on a school board before or not, but
I only watch.
It's not exciting work. I guess the thing that I'll say is that when I was 12 years old, I lived with my mom and my brother, and she was talking to a friend of hers, and she told that friend that we're really put on this earth for our kids, and I guess I kind of like the underdog, and kids are kind of the underdog. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm just basically here for kids, and if I can offer some leadership to our school district, and add some ideas that I have over the next 4 years that make the system better for kids, then that's all I really want to do. Some people may listen to this and say, "Yeah, you're just talking about kids," but I mean, if you knew me, you would know that that's basically what I do. I'm a mentor with the Sac County Mentoring Group. I coach our kids in whatever they do in Little League. I'm the pack leader of the Boy Scouts, Pack 195. Joined the men's club about 4 or 5 years ago in Lakeview, for no other reason than basically all they're there for is to help kids. So that's what I do. So to get excited about running for the school board, I don't think I'm excited about being on the school board. I think I want to be there because I feel a need to protect these guys and to do what I can.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sitting down with me and TSN's listeners and having a chat with us about your run for the school board.